That was fun.
Very fun.
Alright, let's stretch.
Foot prisons.
Foot prisons.
That's all right.
Tao Te Ching number 46. When the world has the Tao, fast horses are retired to fertilize the grounds. When the world lacks the Tao, war horses must give birth on the battlefield. There is no crime greater than greed, no disaster greater than discontentment, no fault greater than avarice. Thus, the satisfaction of contentment is a lasting satisfaction. Commentary. When the world follows the Tao, harmony prevails. People know contentment and there is peace between nations. Because there is no war, fast horses no longer have a military function. So they are taken out of the army and redirected to till farmland so farmers can then plant crops. When the world does not follow the Tao, strife prevails. People bicker among themselves and nations clash endlessly. Because of constant warfare, all the horses are drafted into battle, so that even pregnant mares end up having to give birth on the battlefield. These are among the most powerful and evocative images from the Tao Te Ching. The peaceful, pastoral scene of horses used for farming contrasts sharply with the misery and suffering of warfare. The driving force behind warfare and conflict is excessive desire at the expense of others. That is why there is no greater crime than greed, no greater disaster than not knowing when one has enough, and no greater fault than avarice or covetousness. Conversely, the satisfaction we can derive from the feeling of contentment at any level of material possession is a true and lasting satisfaction. This is the peaceful bliss and self-sufficiency of those who follow the Tao. Any reflection on that?
Well, we're about to see that in Washington, D.C. with all the billionaires we have. Hopefully they don't break the country and take what they can. But what I take from that is not having greed, but being content. And having greed that you don't get enough of something, you are ready to make war against another to take. But without greed, you have no reason to try. Because you are content.
This teaching is really relevant to my life right now. It's interesting that I read it today. You know, it's like knowing when enough is enough and being content with what you have. I think it's one of the most important lessons. So controlling your greed is very important. You know, if you can always set up goals in your life to strive after X amount of dollars, and you can always be discontent when you don't get how much you strive for. Or you can simply just see what you have, be happy with what you have, and content with where you're at, where you are. You know, so essentially the teaching to me is like, it's not always like more is better or bigger is better. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's a great feeling to have less, you know, and you know, just last night, we did something simple, just kind of reorganize the home a little bit, redecorate certain things, and it just made me feel so much better to have like more empty space and just more of an organized life. Like it's like I don't really need a bigger place to put more stuff in. It's more like getting rid of stuff that we don't need, or organizing things in a certain way so that you have more space, and that's something that's simple to do and could happen immediately, opposed to like dreaming of saving X amount of dollars or whatever to have a mansion, or whatever the case may be. Just being content with what I have and everything. Same thing with the Kun is like my goal is just to grow this school, not really to expand and franchise and things like that, or even move to another location. Just being content with this location, with the students that I train, and just slowly growing from here. It's like I'm happy with that, and just approaching it from a non-aggressive standpoint. And this teaching is really showing the difference between the Tao and what other fighting arts or martial arts or combat sports, what they promote. They're promoting like going into war. And this specific passage, the Tao is talking about being at peace. So then when you're at peace, then you don't need to, it's not all about being fast and everything. You just slow down, just relax, and just enjoy life. It's not all about being fast and fighting, So, this passage alone really shows the difference between a martial art that's grounded in the Tao opposed to the opposite. And I think it's a very important lesson to remember as you train here. Alright, we'll go to 47. Without going out the door, know the world. Without peering out the window, see the heavenly Tao. The further one goes, the less one knows. Therefore the sage knows without going, names without seeing, achieves without striving. Commentary. In ancient times, as today, many people thought they could become enlightened by traveling to places they considered sacred. They visited holy lands, they went on pilgrimages. Unlike them, Tao cultivators recognized that spirituality came from within, and so they did not feel the need to search frantically all over the material world for enlightenment. You cannot comprehend the limitless Tao by looking through the limited view of a window. Sages turn their vision inward instead. Within our hearts there is an inner vision, which sees the world through the infinite perceptions of the Tao. The knowing in the context of this line is an intuitive understanding, a direct interface with reality, one that is not dependent on the physical senses. It allows us to master wisdom no matter where we happen to be. It informs us that the Tao is not confined to any particular place, so there's no need for us to travel anywhere to gain mastery. This chapter is sometimes misinterpreted as a teaching against travel, but as we have seen, what it really talks about is traveling for the purpose of gaining spiritual knowledge. As Tao cultivators, we prefer to stick to the original purpose of travel, going places, seeing sights, and making friends.
just about the journey, or how you can see the world without stepping out the door. I'm just paraphrasing what they just said in the first comment. It's like a spiritual journey. Like, I'm pretty sure we've all had neighborhoods we grew up in, and you look around like, oh, the neighborhood's totally changed. But if we look at ourselves, like who we were, at the time, or where the place used to be the way it used to be, it's like we're totally different than we were when that place used to be what it was too. So not only has the things around us changed, but we've changed. And when it talks about the spiritual journey, it's like, well, a lot of people forget that, or at least me and myself. Like, I was talking to my brother yesterday. We was looking at IDs, like the driver's license, the state ID. And I'm like, man, like you actually look younger in the older picture than you do in right. I'm like, hey, you look younger now than you did back then. What was going on, at that time? And that can reflect like the journey, like for whatever happened that day, spiritually where you were. Maybe that's how you felt, and it shows. Versus like, hey, when you get older, you can be spiritually anew, like in a way you can be in a much better place.
Right.
And I showed him my IDs, and of course I look the same.
Okay.
But I was an adult already. He was a teenager, so.
All right.
But I mean, that passage definitely gets me to think of the spiritual journey, not necessarily, well, a lot of people, you have to go to Mecca, you got to go to Jerusalem and all that stuff to have the experience, but you can experience things in your own life, in your own time.
There's a tale told by the Dalai Lama in The Art of Happiness, and he talks about how people will climb the highest mountain, go to the deepest parts of the sea in order to find oneness or self. And it's not necessarily so that you need to do that, but where you are now, if I express to people, if you can find contentment or a bit of solitude, you don't need to visit or to take your place to certain heights or lows in order, or definitely not lows, but certain heights in order to find contentment. It's right where you are then. As you mentioned, just look at where you were 5 years ago versus where you want to be 5 years from now. And I don't know, I think it's a part of living in the moment. Like right now, this is the moment. After we leave here, then there's another moment.
Right.
But it's kind of like, I guess, a movie projector. The different pictures that you get when you reflect back on the times before, if they are good, then these are what you can grow from in contentment and resolving yourself. But if you can visualize where you are now and find some happiness in it, you will certainly be able to do it again and again. There's a certain plaque that I have on the wall at home called the Deserta, or place it amid the noise and haste, remember what peace there is in silence. I don't remember all of it, but it's something like, take pride into the council of years, even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story to tell. It tells you how special you are as an individual, more so than the blades of grass. But you should be able to pull that up on your smart device. If you have a computer at home, turn it up to it was written by a man who is German. And I find much peace in that. Matter of fact, that particular plaque got burned around the edges to make it look like it was found in a fire. But I've had that plaque, that poster, for almost 40 years. That's how much it meant to me. I kept it amongst albums and kind of like behind one or behind several of them. But I have it now on my wall at home, and it helps me to remember how, not necessarily special I am, but how much more at peace I can be in this world that we live in now, which hopefully doesn't change too much on the 20th of this month, but we never know.
This is a very important teaching. Goes along the lines of what Buddha was teaching. The wisdom, enlightenment is within you. You don't need to. It's not at any sacred place, and it's not outside of you. So once you realize that, then enlightenment can happen at any moment, at any time, at any place. Just realize that when I teach meditation, a lot of times I have you close your eyes and look within. And when you look within, you close your eyes, your surroundings, it has less of an influence. So if you close your eyes in Chicago, you close your eyes in San Francisco, close your eyes in China, it really doesn't matter where you are, you're still looking within, and that's where enlightenment occurs in wisdom. So once you have that understanding, then you're not going to be seeking for holy knowledge or wisdom outside of yourself. And they're saying it's okay to travel, but don't travel with the intention of becoming spiritually enlightened, because it's not going to happen. It happens from within. If you're going to travel, then just travel for traveling's sake. Just travel because you want to meet new friends or make friends, go to different places, see new sights. Just travel for what you're supposed to travel for. Don't think that just because you visited a certain location, all of a sudden you're an enlightened being now. It doesn't work like that, So that's what that teaching is pretty much saying. And I completely agree, this book, this text is actually the thing that kind of enlightened me. And all it took was just me going to Barnes and Noble and reading it.
The same Barnes and
So, that was an amazing experience for me, But I mean, I did go to college at Purdue. It wasn't too far, but far enough to give me a certain experience that it would be hard to simulate if I lived at home. So when I went to Purdue and lived over there and trained over there and met the people over there, it really did change me a lot. So I do recognize that too. But the fact of the matter is, traveling especially overseas, it's a lot of money, and a lot of people don't have the money or the time because they got jobs and all this stuff. So if you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you have to find another way to grow, and to have this misconception that you need to travel outside of this country or thousands of miles away to grow spiritually. It's false. That's not true. You don't have to travel thousands of miles to gain wisdom. I mean, you could, there could be benefits to traveling, but it's not for everybody. It's almost like this misconception that, oh, you can only be intelligent if you have a college degree. I mean, that's a misconception. You can be intelligent without the degree, Like, it's just a way for them to make money off of people that believe stuff like that. So I say don't get trapped into that belief. I mean, if you have the luxury of being able to travel, then that's great. But if you don't have the luxury, then just appreciate, where you're at and grow from where you're at,
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Just hearing, like, sharing with your experiences, just going to college, and it's not necessarily about the place, but the experience, like, I noticed, like, you keep in touch with people you went there with, and, like, that's what it's about. It's not necessarily the place, but, your experience in your time there versus the place. Like, you could have met them somewhere else, but you all have that shared experience, you and your classmates. And I feel the same way. Like, me and my wife, we went to the same college, but we went there in different time periods. So my experience is totally different from her experience. And, what we got from it can be totally different. It depends on what we brought to the table when we got there.
Yeah.
Shout out to the college dropouts all around the world.
Remember, it's never late. My mother went back to school at 52 after she raised us, got her bachelor's in child development and got her master's in child psychology. I saw that and I said, I could do that too. So I became a professional student.
Professional student, I like that.
I got a degree in sociology, one in criminal justice, and I just got one in as a paralegal. And I'm too old to wait too long for the sociology. I am in the area of criminal justice, and I guess the other one came to being because I got interested in law a little bit further than being a union steward. So I got my degree, and now this is my next degree. So being a professional student has led me to UC.
You gotta get the top student award.
At least amongst them. At least amongst them.
Top student here, you gotta be like 16-star general.
That means I'd be ready for retirement. Nothing wrong with education, and nothing wrong with Barnes and Noble. Since they got rid of Borders, that's become my favorite store now.
Since we got rid of Borders.
Yeah, I don't like the one downtown. I like the one in downtown Evanston.
Yeah.
I like how it's laid out compared to the one at DePaul University, Barnes and Noble.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Borders was my store. Of course, I can take it back past the time that you all can remember, maybe Crocs and Botanicals.
I heard about it.
Okay, that's good though. But Borders was a wonder. Anything $5.99 I purchased. From anything from the seafood reach, from philosophy, religion, physical fitness, physics, psychology, to home improvement. I have on my bookshelf. Anything $5.99 have my name on it. Unfortunately, I had to build a bookshelf too.
That was $6.99.
It's not that. I mean, the book was, yeah. I had to learn. And couldn't get a patent on it. I tried from a patent office, but they have one already at Target, but it's 6 feet by 8 feet. Monstrosity. Sure I can find on my smart device that's I have on my wall. Took a picture of these characters that I would like to resemble as I get older.
Ming Rames.
What is that now?
Ming Rames. Like Ming Rames. But you
Well-
said some characters you wanted to resemble as you got older. How about Ming Rames?
Being Rames.
Ming Rames, the actor, big buff guy, the actor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not familiar. These characters are made by Mattel. One of them, when I collided with the truck, that should have been like the Thing, right? From Fantastic Four. The car where the vehicle wrapped around me. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And the other one is still possible. The Incredible Hulk. And of course, I think I better get my walking ability together a little bit better than it is now. But I'll keep trying. You know, and, oh.
So, Shen, what do you think about the sparring? What do you think you did?
Endurance-wise, terrible.
He lasts over an hour.
Some things, like you said, kicks helped out a little bit better. Chris is getting better with the side kick, and like I said, affecting me out more. He would have just got it at will. The choke, like you said, at the end, fought out. Well, getting down there in the first place is bad, but that's where the endurance comes in. I just didn't feel like I had any energy to move. Like,
I mean, we did just do a lot of fitness training before that, and that takes a lot out of you, for sure. You grabbed his leg a few times, but you didn't capitalize on it.
no, I tried to come in, and by the time I did, he grabbed me or he punched me away, which is what you're supposed to do.
You want to capitalize on that. You did turn your back on him a few
Yeah,
times.
I noticed that too. Like, he got me, like, I wouldn't say cornered, but kind of like put pressure, and I turned around, like, oh, snap. Like,
Like, sometimes when you get pressured, you'll flail, or you put your head down, or you might turn your back. You want to try to stop doing that. Like, don't put your head down. Don't. Because that's when you put your head down, that's when uppercuts can come get you, and then also you can't see it because you're looking at the ground.
right.
So there's no point in having your head down, and there's no point in turning your head around unless you're doing like a technique that you intended to do, like a spinning back fist or backside kick. But if you're not intending to do a technique and you're just turning your head, that's not good. Then you turn it around, that's not good either. And you don't want to flail. You want to have, look at him and just fight back, while looking at him and looking at the targets. Because a lot of times what happens with beginners when they get in trouble. They'll either put their head down, they'll turn around, and they'll just start throwing their arms out, not looking at what they're trying to hit, and just flailing around, you know. Mark does that too, you know, but you don't want to do that.
Don't want to be like Mark.
Yeah, don't flail like that, you know, because it is safe sparring, and like when you do like those spinning type of attacks, you can't really control the force that well, you know. So if they don't get out the way, then you can hit them harder than what you're supposed to be hitting them.
Unintentionally, right?
Yeah. And when it goes to the ground like that, I'd say you have to fight out of it, because that's your opportunity to work on that ground survival training that we've already discussed. And if you're just like, well, I'm too tired, then, well, that is, you know, your one opportunity in how many months? I don't know, maybe like over 2 months you guys didn't spar to work on that one part, and then you just kind of opted out of it because of you're tired. You know what I'm saying? Like then you just fail to work on that part. You want to fight out of that position, at least get in a neutral position before you call it quits.
To his credit, though, I will say this much. He did have me in an active hold. I'm not going to deny that. Like, if you applied more pressure, I probably would have been choked out. So I'm not going to say that, oh, I could have just gotten out of it at will. I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say that. Could I have fought harder? Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, to fight harder, I'll do that. But I'm not going to take any credit with him, because he actually got the hold in without trying to harm me.
Yeah, and then afterwards, round 2, you started off more aggressive, which is good. Like you started to kick with more assertiveness and not like really holding back to act like you're gonna hurt them. And that's how you're supposed to kick them. You know, especially when you're kicking him down low like that, you're not really gonna hurt him, but you can't hold back too much, because then he's not gonna feel nothing, and then you might as well not even kick if you're not gonna kick for real, you know.
Right.
So I saw you got at least one good kick in there, maybe a couple. On those low kicks, which is good, because you're kicking lower, and you got some good ones in there. And when you kick high, because that's what was happening to him, when he was kicking you at the waist or the head level, you started catching his leg a lot, right? Just notice that if you do that to him, he'll probably catch your leg a lot too. If you're gonna kick at the waist or higher, you gotta make sure you kick really fast, and you gotta do it at the right time so they don't grab your leg. So you want to kind of focus on those low kicks to kind of open up other opportunities to go at them. With that as a good foundation. He is taller, he has more range, he has age, you know, he's getting more flexible. It's gonna be a challenge, you know. He's getting better at it too, so.
I was just thinking, Seafood wanted me to raise my hand. I'm probably 10 years older than the young man here.
Oh, you're turning up
And he's
next.
from the Yeah, I have to be a cheater to get out of his way. Talk about looking at one of those slow motion movies. But hey.
Just give you a gun.
I'd probably run into someone his age on the train going to work. I just got to say, oh, well, not again. Not again. I'm so sorry, sir. I did not mean to do that. I apologize. And walk away.
I think one thing that's helped me in the sparring is like anticipating the contact. Just because, like when I first started, like I can't count how many times Seafood just. So it's like I just try and absorb it as opposed to get out the way. Like he hits me, like I'll take it, But I used to run. I used to turn my back. And stop running! Don't turn your back. It's like it's over with. So I'll do my best to parry it or evade it, but
Right.
I don't want to like retreat.
Right,
So if
right.
it comes and it gets me, it gets me. I just have to recover as fast as possible. But I have to like face that pressure and not be afraid to get hit, and that helps me a lot because then I'm not really intimidated if he keeps missing me.
I tell you, I was mugged on the L. And it was from one stop to the next stop. It was 5 big ladies and 2 guys, right? Well, when I saw opportunity for me to get away, it wasn't though they performed. The ladies brought about a wall that I could not get beyond.
Okay.
So I had to think about it, and the only thing that I could think about was curling up to take the pressure,
Okay.
and when I realized it was the idea of being hit that hurt more so than being hit. And when I arrived at work, of course, the ladies from the police department, the police who attended were 2 ladies. And they said, I kept asking them how I look, And they said, what did work? I said, and the next shoot up is that I'd call off. Well, when I got to work, I had bruises all on the top of my head. That was from my knuckles hitting me as they were hitting me with uppercuts. So it was like me continuously hitting myself. Of course, my face wasn't right. It was at the top of my brow. But I don't know what will happen next time, but it won't be me.
Yeah.
It won't be me.
Concealed carry will come in.
It
I
might
can't carry that into work.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
But I keep a certain staff with me, that I have a particular, I could put the rope around my hand and use that as the jabbing device. Of course, I realized that also that you can use a pin or anything with a cap on it, go right for the head, but then again, the law says after the first hit, you got 2 minutes to think about it, so that could be manslaughter or premeditated.
yeah.
If you were to take somebody out. So it's like, even with this art here, I have to walk away once I gain the knowledge that I need. But when forced into a corner, there's only one way there's 4 ways you can come out. You can either go around, over, under, or go right through them. And going right through them might be the thing that jeopardizes your freedom.
Right.
But mostly what I'm looking for in life is peace. But I think I'm gonna find that here as well.
It's like one of the pages we read in the Tao a few weeks ago, where it's like, we seek peace, but when pushed into a corner, like there's no mercy.
Yeah, you have to come out. Well, you have to show a little bit of mercy with the knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
A little bit of mercy, and then don't take them right out, but at least break them down.
And don't celebrate the victory.
Yeah, no. You might just have to turn around and give them mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And say, I'm so sorry, but you brought me to that point.
Then I'm always fighting females though.
I'm like, dude,
And I'm certified, so she better look good. For me, you ain't gonna look like no horse now. It can't be horse looking in the face.
She get on the train with Amanda Nunes and catch a right hook.
I mean.
said, man.
So Chris, I want you to keep working on good technique, because when you spar a good technique, it's just the difference between like martial artists sparring opposed to just like fighters that don't know what the hell they're doing fighting. Or even if you pair up a martial artist against a fighter, it still gets messy because the fighter is just being dirty, So if you got a martial artist and then a fighter pulls out a gun, then it forces the martial artist to take it to that level. If you got a fighter that pulls out a knife, then it forces the martial artist to take out the knife. If you got a wrestler who's trying to fight a boxer, he's trying to always take it to the ground, then it's not like it's not artful anymore. you know.
Yeah.
Like when you see two really good boxers boxing, it's like, whoa, you know, like that's awesome. So like I sparred with this guy that came in for the first day. He had training in all these other schools. Sparred with him the first time, just the first time sparring. We didn't even make much contact, but it was pretty entertaining because he kept trying to do all these different kicks.
The Tony guy?
Yeah, he kept trying to do all these different kicks and all these different moves. And then me trying to respond to that is interesting to see, right? But if somebody doesn't have any experience and then just start throwing like bad technique and all this other stuff, it just makes the whole thing look ugly, right? So the better that you get at the technique, the more the sparring just looks more artful. You know, like you just got him in the face with a good kick, and you know it was a good shot, and pulls is just like tackling somebody, just pounding on them just because you can. You know, like that's not artful. You know, you wanna the techniques that we work on, you wanna try to make them work in the sparring, and you know if it gets hands on, it goes on the ground. Okay, so be it. But like basically, you're working all these stand-up techniques. Don't like turn it into a ground game right away, because then you're not really working on the stand-up techniques. You're pretty much running from what you need to work on, right? The ground game is the ground game. Okay, fine, but you know you need to get good at everything. And the way that I teach is try to stay away from the ground unless absolutely necessary. So if they take you to the ground, then you just have to do what you got to do. But typically, we don't really. You know, if you got control of the whole fighting situation, you pretty much keep standing up and just leave it at that, you know.
Yeah. Would that be considered grappling, ground game?
Yeah, it's like grappling and all this stuff, you know. I mean, that's fine. If you could grapple somebody, then that's fine, you know what I mean? Like, it forces them to work on what they need to work on to survive that aspect. But there's a difference between a grappler who can't kick and can't punch opposed to a martial artist who can kick, punch, and grapple. He can do whatever the hell necessary, right? So through the training, you know there's certain kicks that you're not good at that you need to get better at. You know you need to get more flexible. So if you get good at your kicks, then pretty much it boils down to you don't even need to grapple them because you just beat them with your kicks. You beat them with your kicks. You don't even need to punch them because you beat them with the kicks. You beat them with the kicks. Okay, you can't beat them with the kicks. You get them with punches. Beat them with your punches. Or you can't beat them with the punches, okay, then fine. Then you might have to elbow, knee strike, grapple, whatever the case may be. But the grappling is pretty much like a last resort. You just want to beat them with grace. You know, just like one good kick and the fight, boom, that's it. You don't even have to get your hands dirty. Your shoe just hit them in the right spot, that's it. You know, so get good at the long range weapons. Try to beat them with the long range weapons, and then the ground game, whatever the case may be. But the ground game is almost like an arm wrestle. So he's strong in the bench press, but it's pretty much what it goes down to is like the person that's more fit will usually win the ground game. It's like just straight up arm wrestling somebody for their life.
Yeah.
But you know that there's a limit to how strong you actually are, and you can't out wrestle everybody. Right. So if there's somebody else in here that's way bigger than you and stronger than you, you don't want to take them down to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Especially if that's what they like to do. So then you'll be forced to work on your stand-up game to beat them, right? But the school is kind of smaller, so you don't. Right now, you're the biggest person in this room, so you can kind of toss people around and shit. You know what I'm saying? But as the school grows, if there's bigger people than you, then you kind of know what we go through. Like shit, you know, how we gonna beat this big dude? Like, you know, we gotta figure that out. You know.
I really want to like stay away from the ground game. Like a few times when I did do the grapple, I just kind of like let them go.
Yeah.
So I can stay standing up.
Yeah. I mean, you bring it to this is fine because it kind of forces people, everybody in the school to work on that. Like you took Mark to the ground. Everybody you sparred, you pretty much took it to the ground. like you body slam them or suplex them or whatever. It forces them to work on it. So I don't want you to change that part, but to make it more of a martial arts, you need to work on the other aspects too. You know.
If you don't think it's a ground game, I need to put on more weight.
I mean, in some cases, it's kind of like they make me do it. It's like I really want to stand up,
Yeah.
and when they swing,
Yeah.
they just fall in my arms.
No stuff.
And it's like I just find myself like in like that. So
That's
like the
fine.
first 2 times I let him go. The last time it was like, okay, it's just
There
gonna
goes
take him
again,
down.
huh?
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not stopping it. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know, no ground fighting. I
I
mean,
was thinking like, okay, at least get 2 or 3 good side kicks in. Like I know I got one good one in, like before, and I'm like, man, I did it, okay. Second time I got my leg, I'm like, oh shit.
but that's fine, man.
You know what to do, don't turn your side.
Just try to keep cleaning it up, you know, to make it like nice.
I haven't taken you to it, bro. I haven't even gotten that close. So it's like I have to work on my stand-up game.
If you get that close, you're gonna get hit.
Yeah, it's hot.
I mean, that's the last place I want to be. I don't want to be in the ground. That's why.